All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak Badash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations be unto the Akim out here pushing this gospel of truth and sincerity to the best of their ability. Give it to them by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quanah Watt coming back at you, Lord will, with another street teaching, man, through the grace and mercy of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, to continue to preach this gospel, this good news unto the world, man, right? Which, as you read in Matthew, the 24th chapter, right, the 14th verse, it says what? That this gospel shall be preached to the end of the world, right? And then shall the end come, man. And this word is going out, man, right? The warning is going out, right? The gospel is going out, the good news, man. And the good news is we're at the end of this fucking current rulership, man, right? The end of this age, right? And we know that because the last two major prophecies are speaking loud and clear, right? Which you got World War III, right? Which is what? The fullness of World War III, which we're in right now, right? The fullness of World War III is when those ICBM nuclear missiles, right, are ultimately going to be used, right, and shot off, right? All these different nations are creating these nuclear missiles, putting them together, you know, so that way they can be used. There's nothing, there's a, what does it say, Ecclesiastes 3:1, right? There's a reason, you know, and a purpose to everything under the heavens, man. You know, and the Lord is having these nuclear missiles be created by these nations so that they can be fired on America, right, and destroy America. But we understand that before that can happen, before that can take place, right, Revelations 13 verse 16, which is the mandatory implementation of the RFID microchip, right, has to be, you know, in play, right, has to be made mandatory, man, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen real soon, right. And again, we're ultimately, you know, even if we sound like a broken record, we're going to continue to preach this word. We're going to continue to push prophecy, man, you know. So I'll start right here. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved, right? So we're to watch, right? The Lord ultimately set up, you know, prophets, right? Aforetime called seers, right? To do what? To look at these different things that are happening in the earth, right? The different policies, regulations, you know, bills and whatnot that are being, you know, written and in play, right? Put in play, you know, within the world, right? The different, you know, events that take place, right? And filter those things through the scriptures, right? And give you the proper understanding of the times that we're in, right? Verse 3, it says, and Yahweh said unto me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. And this is exactly what we're doing, man. You know, we're sitting here, you know, again, giving you the proper understanding, man, making it easy to be understood, right? Showing you that we are in the end, right? And the average so-called Christian can see that, man. You know, the average so-called Christian will tell you that we're at the end. You know, they're false prophets, but nonetheless, it's being made evident by the true men of the Lord, right? The true prophets, right? Verse 3 says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, man. You know, and it is coming. You know, they, you know, I did a lesson on it, right? Just going in, you know, on these two articles, right? Again, proving that, hey, we're in the time of Revelations 13, verse 16 on down, right? We're in the time where the RFID microchip is going to be made mandatory, man. You know, out in the UK, which let me see if I can pull it up. In the UK, you have them saying that they're ultimately going to be establishing, you know, a digital ID, right? Let's go ahead and grab it. It says, right here, it says, King Charles, not really a king, but nonetheless, right? That's his title in the world, right? This is on the peoplesvoice.tv. It says, King Charles announces British government is rolling out Bill Kilgate's digital ID, right? They're rolling out a digital ID. And then when you go into, because the EU, as well as other countries, right, the EU had said at the beginning of this year or late last year, the end of the year last year, 2025, right? That they were ultimately going to be rolling out, you know, a digital ID, and that it's going to be made mandatory in order for you to be able to participate or to work, right, within, you know, within the country, right? And here they are, they rolled it out, right? They're rolling it out. And in the article, it says EU declares non-compliant citizens who reject Killgate's digital ID will be banned from the internet. And it's not just the internet, man. You know? It says the European Union is turning the internet into a permission-based system where ordinary citizens must surrender their digital identification to participate in modern society. And that right there is Revelations verses 13, 16 and 17, man. Right? We understand that Esau ultimately, you know, he pushes, you know, these different narratives, right? And ultimately, you know, disguises it as, you know, something that's ultimately going to benefit, right, the people, benefit the masses, right? In this article, he states that, you know, that they're ultimately, you know, making it to where, you know, everyone, right, has to ultimately have a digital ID in order to get onto the internet, because it'll save the minds of those who are 16 and younger, right? They don't need to be on, you know, the internet and see the different, you know, bullshit that gets put on there, right? It'll taint their minds, right? And that's what they're stating, which, hey, to a certain degree, that's right, right? You know, you got, hey, this, there's a lot of wickedness, right? That's ultimately put on, you know, the internet, man. You got that P-orn, you know, and so on and so forth, right? All those different things on the internet, everything's fucking sexualized, man. So of course, right, these younger, you know, these kids and whatnot, they don't need to be on that shit, you know. But see, Esau is using that, right? Esau is using that to, you know, to further his agenda, man, right? Because it's all about control at the end of the day, right? He wants to be able to control you, right? That's why he's stating, hey, in order for you to be able to get onto the internet, right, you have to have, you know, this digital ID and to put in your identification, right, into, you know, this verification system so you can get on the internet, man, right? Which ultimately stops, you know, a lot of people whose business, right, because a lot of things are digital now, right? In order for you to be able to run your business, you know, or to, you know, to promote your business or whatnot, you have to have or to utilize the internet, right? And that's going to stop a lot of that, man. You know, a lot of people are going to be like, no, I ain't going to do it. And then they realize that they have no choice. You know, that they have no choice, and they're gonna end up what? They're gonna end up, you know, breaking, and they're gonna end up taking it, man. You know, this is all according to prophecy, man. You know, as the elder apostle Remlab, you know, states, right, of Great Millstone, right? He states that everything turns to the tune of prophecy, man. You know, and this is what we're gonna continue to speak on, man. Either it doesn't matter if we sound like a broken record. Hey, we're gonna continue to speak about prophecy, man, right? Because ultimately, those who are truly who are the true prophets, right? You read in Revelations 12, you know, and 10, right? That the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy, man. You know? So those who the true prophets are going to speak on prophecy, man, no matter what. As it says in Ezekiel, it's like a second Esdras 15 and verse 1, it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, man. And again, we're in the time of the last two major prophecies, World War III, which we're in the beginning stages of it, right? We're in World War III now, and before that can, you know, the fullness of World War III, which is the use of ICBM nuclear missiles, can happen. We understand that Revelations 13 has to be made mandatory, man, right? And it's not just over there, you know, or you know, across the seas on the you know, the eastern hemisphere of the world that they're making this digital ID mandatory, man, right? Over here, you know, in Mexico. Right, on the Western Hemisphere in Mexico, they're doing the same thing, right? Sheinbaum, you know, Claudia Sheinbaum, she ultimately said the same thing, right? That in Mexico, they're going to be making a digital ID mandatory in order for you to be able to work, in order for you to be able to participate in society, man. You know, see, these things are happening all while you people are distracted by the Phantom with the H, Cyrus, man. You know? This is how Esau does it, right? He ultimately creates a problem, you know, to distract you people, and then behind scenes, he ultimately goes and he passes these different laws, policies, and bills, you know, behind your back, and you people don't even know it, man. He'll sit there and put a whole bunch of laws, policies, and bills in this 5,000, 2,000 page fucking, you know, bill or aid bill, you know, for Ukraine or for whatever, you know, and then slide a whole bunch of bills, policies, and laws in there, and you people don't even know. That's how he moves, man. You know, this devil is very deceitful, man. But again, a prophecy is moving. You know, this is Revelations chapter 13 and verse 16. It says that he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a M-A-R-K in their right hand or in their foreheads. And we, you know, we got a code word, you know, some of these words. Otherwise, you know, Esau and his algorithms, you know, he'll, you know, ultimately try to take down our videos, you know. So we'll either spell it out or, you know, we'll rhyme it, right, with a different word, but, you know, it'll sound similar, right? But nonetheless, right, to receive a M-A-R-K, right, in their foreheads or in their hands. And we understand that is the what? The RFID microchip, man. You know, which you got you know, you got what is his name? Elon Musk, right? He's got this company called Neuralink, right, which they're ultimately going around to these different hospitals, and, you know, they're ultimately putting these Neuralinks, you know, in these different patients, and these patients are being connected to the BCI, brain computer interface, right, to where now they're able to, you know, utilize, you know, AI and the different technology, right, through camera lenses, you know, through cameras, through, you know, tablets, phones, again, all the digital devices, right, like Alexa and Bixby and Siri and so on and so forth, to be able to do what they need to do, right? You even had it to where, you know, I want to say 2024, you had a dude, right, that was what is it, paraplegic, right, from the waist down, right? Quadriplegic is from the neck down, but paraplegic is from the waist down. Anyway, he was paraplegic and he couldn't walk, right? It's been 10 years since he walked, and he ultimately got the Neuralink, and now he was able to walk again, you know, which goes back into those miracles, right, that he would do with these devices, you know. Jumping up to verse 14, Revelations 13 and verse 14, it says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, right? Again, those miracles, making people walk, making people see, right? You had a dude that, you know, ultimately had received it. He was quadriplegic, so he wasn't able to, you know, ultimately move or anything, but he was in a wheelchair, you know, and when he took that Neuralink, he was able to use the computer, right? He just used his mind, and he was able to, you know, as if he had some type of like telepathy or you know, some type of a mental power, you know. And they're doing that by giving you people the RFID microchip, man. You know, that right there is those miracles that we're reading about in Revelations 13 and verse 14, right? People able to walk again, having that Neuralink. People able to see again, having that Neuralink. You know, it says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image of the beast, which had a wound by the sword, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And this is going into, you know, the Roman Empire, right? The ancient Roman Empire ultimately being brought down, right? But, you know, ultimately being revived through America, right? Revived through, you know, Babylon the Great, again, also known as, you know, AKA America, right? America is Rome 2.0, if you will, man. You know, and that's what it's talking about, right? And did live, right? It lived through America, right? It says he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, right? That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, man. And it's coming to that point, right? It's coming to that point where you have to get, you know, go along with this system in order for you to continue to live, right? Because again, as we just read, right, just very briefly, that you're going to have this digital ID in order for you to be able to continue to participate in modern society, you know? And that's something that's been stated, right? You had Klaus Schwab, you know, who once was the head of the WEF, right, the World Economic Forum, which most of these people don't even know about, right? He made the statement that you're going to need an implantable device in order to participate in society. This was said a few years ago, man, you know, and now it's being said more and more and more, which is the prophecy speaking, right? As we read in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, the 3rd verse, at the end it shall speak, right? Which prophecy states that if you don't have this M-A-R-K, you're not going to be able to participate, man, right? We'll keep reading. Revelation 13 verse 16 again. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, right? So it doesn't matter if you're out here on the streets. It doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you're in the jails, right? It doesn't matter if you're traveling abroad, right? You're going to have to receive this MARK, right? This Charagma, which is the RFID microchip, man. They're going to make everyone, right? It says to receive an MARK in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the MARK, the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you're not going to be able to buy or sell, right? And we saw basically a pre-trial run of that when it came to the C19, right? When they ultimately started locking everything down, and as they slowly and gradually started to open things up, and there was a requirement. You needed to have those jabs, right? You needed to have those record of all the jabs that you had gotten in order for you to go into a grocery store, right? In order for you to go into any kind of venue, right? They were having lap dances outside the fucking clubs, man. For people that had taken the jabs and whatnot, man. Everyone else was ultimately fucked. So he's gonna, and what did he do? At first he was trying to bribe the people to take it, right? Saying that you can ultimately, jabs for joints, right? Or they were trying to sit here and they made, man, it was fucking mockery, man. They were sitting there saying, oh, we'll give you, a year worth of fucking burgers and fries and this, that, and the third in order for you to take it, right? Enter into a raffle, or we'll give you a free lottery ticket, right? In order for you to be able to, to get the jab. And a lot of people did it, man. Being fucking simple. But hey, that right there was a pre-trial run to what is about to come, right? Soon, and we see it right now. Esau is ultimately, again, by the different miracles, ultimately enticing the people, more and more people, especially the elderly, those who are disabled, right? Seeing these people walk, seeing these people being able to move, he's enticing those people to continue to, to want to get it, right? And then now you got people that are not disabled, those are not elderly, and they're taking it, and they're sitting there making videos and talking about how good it is, and this, that, and the third, which hey, you should never take the RFID microchip, man, because we know what's going to happen to those that do. Don't take the MO to the TB, because you will be destroyed, and that's thus saith the Lord, man. He's always messing with my phone, man. But again, nonetheless, the point being that there's going to come a time where he's going to make it to where you have to take it, man. That's what that whole, bro saw that through the spirit, man. That's what Esau was doing, right? Making it to where, hey, in order for you to go into these venues, you have to have that jab. Well, hey, it's going to come to the point where in order for you to be able to to be able to work, to be able to go into these different stores, right? In order to sell your goods, to run your business, you're going to have the RFID microchip, man. Otherwise you're going to be screwed, right? And then this is, again, according to prophecy, man. And a lot of people will sit there and say, oh no, that's not going to happen, and these devices and this, that, and the third is just it's just another trend or whatnot. No, man. This is according to prophecy. It's according to the Bible. And a lot of people that say that they believe in God, that they believe in the Bible, right? Why are they not focusing on this, man? You got now you got Christians talking about how the mark of the beast is being ruled out and being talked about more and more, man. Because again, the Lord is speaking, right, through his men, telling y'all that, hey, that this system, right, is finna be rolled out, and it's gonna be rolled out real quick. You're either gonna trust in the Lord, or you're gonna trust in man and receive that device, right? And that's gonna be the death of you, man. Because the prophets are here to tell y'all, man, do not take the RFID microchip, man. And it's gonna be rolled out soon, man. You had a lot of people that talked about, especially how you had like Bishop Nathaniel of the IUIC. Talk about, and this happened, a few years ago, his statement that he made, man, it's June, there ain't no microchip. Well, you don't hear him saying that no more. Hey, well, now he's starting, as the elder apostle Remlob, had stated right through the spirit that what was going to happen, right? He predicted it through the spirit. that, you know, hey, you're gonna, you know, Nate, Bishop Nathaniel, and the leadership of IUIC was ultimately gonna start coming along, and then we're gonna start talking about it more and more, right? And eventually they're gonna say, you know, that the RFID microchip is the MO to the TB, right? They're not saying it now, right? But then now they're starting to talk about that digital system, man. You know, now they're starting to speak about it more. Now they're talking about the digital system being rolled out, you know, but those guys are false prophets, man. You know, because at this current point, it's irrefutable, right? It's irrefutable. You cannot say that the RFID microchip is not the mark of the beast, man. You can't say that because all the evidence is being laid out on the table, you know? and again, right, the true prophets, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, starting with the elder apostles of Great Millstone on down, and we're telling y'all, don't take it, man. Do not take the RFID microchip, man, because the Lord will destroy you, man. You know? Let's jump to Revelation 16 and verse 1. It says, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of the Most High upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image, man. So all of y'all that ultimately get, you know, or down with this system, and that received this RFID microchip in your hand and your forehead, right? And the Lord is going to strike you with grievous sores, man. You know, because you have to understand, right? You know, first and foremost, you're putting a foreign object, you know, in your body, right? And what happens? Your body ultimately tries to fight it, right? Your white blood cells will ultimately gather, you know, and try to fight that, you know, that foreign object, you know, like it's some type of disease or whatnot, man. And it'll cause, again, you know, your body to, you know, react a certain way, you know. And then on top of that, you got this device that's ultimately going to have, you know, it's going to have, you know, radiation within it, man, emitting from it, you know, which is going to cause boils and pus and infection and all these different things, right? If you take it, man. This is what the Lord is going to do to those who ultimately take it, man. And we're going to see it, right? We're going to see it. Broad day, man. Right? And it don't just stop there. Not only is the Lord going to strike you people with these noisome and grievous sores, hey, but eventually the Lord is going to destroy you, man. The Lord, because again, we understand that it goes Revelation 13 verse 16, right? Esau makes the RFID microchip mandatory, and then what? Right immediately after that, what you got? What? World War III, right? Which has already started. It has already started. The fullness is where those nuclear missiles ultimately get, you know, utilized, right? So if you take it, noisome and grievous sores, and then immediately after that, if you survive that, right, the Lord is going to destroy you by way of that nuclear fire, right? Revelation 14. And we'll start at verse 9. It says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into his cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of his holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Meaning you're going to be completely destroyed, man. You know, you're going to be destroyed by way of fire, nuclear hellfire, man. And as well as you're going to have the chariots coming and sending down those laser beams, man. You know? And all while this is happening, man, you got to have the men of the Lord, right? Leading up, when the RFID microchip gets, you know, made mandatory, the men of the Lord are going to trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They're not going to trust in man. Most of you people are going to trust in this man and his system like you did when it came to the C-19, right? That pre-trial, right? You people trusted in this devil, right? Telling you that it was good for you, telling you that it was going to help you, protect you and your families, you know? And all of a sudden the information came out that he lied to y'all, man. You know? And if he didn't lie to you, why did Fauci have to be pardoned? He had to be pardoned because everything that he was saying was a fucking lie, man. You know? Bullshit, man. And he got pardoned. And now here he is back in the fucking in the spotlight again. You know? Jeremiah 17:5, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. You know? And the Lord finna get you people, man. Scripture say to never trust thine enemy, man. Y'all went ahead and trust him, and you're gonna do the same thing when it comes time for him to roll out that RFID microchip, man, to make it mandatory. Right? You people are going to trust in this devil, man, but we're not. Lord, will we be of that number? We're not going to trust this devil, man. Right? We're not going to trust this devil, man. And again, he's gonna excommunicate people who are not, you know, who are not going along with this system. He's gonna excommunicate them to prevent them from being able to buy and sell. Meaning you're not gonna be able to get food, you're not gonna be able to get water. But see, the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is gonna take care of those who trust in him. Right? Let's grab that. In Jeremiah 17 and verse 7, it says, "Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh. And it says, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit." Meaning the Lord's going to make sure that we're sustained, man. While all you people are going to fall to this damn devil and receive that or you're going to believe this devil, right? You're going to trust in this devil, and you're going to receive the M-A-R-K, and eventually be destroyed. And well, guess what? Lord will we be part of that, the elect, and we're not going to trust in this damn devil, man. We're going to trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. So when he ultimately makes this thing mandatory, hey, we're going to sit there and say, hey, because your job is going to make it to where you have to get it too. Eventually, all these jobs, they're going to sit there and say, hey, well, in order for you to keep your job, you're going to have to take this. All right, well, cool. Guess what? Fire me. You know? What does it say? It says they love not their lives unto death. Right? Fuck this place, man. You know, we're going to trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. Why would it say? And these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth, man. We're going to follow Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. We ain't going to follow this damn devil, man. You know? Why would you want to be a part of this system which is circling the drain? Why would you want to be a part of this system anyways, man? You know? Because screw this, man. Screw it. Right? Those who ultimately trust in this devil are going to die. Those who trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua are gonna live, man. You know? Come on, man. And we coming into those times. Why we coming into those times, man? Where we're not gonna be able to, you know, participate in society. If you don't have that charagma, you don't have that, you know, that device, right, that's gonna have all your information. It's gonna have your digital wallet. Right, it's gonna have your wallet, it's gonna have your ID, it's gonna have your health records, it's gonna have all that information on there, man. You know, which goes back into that, you know, that root word of charagma, right? One of the root words which goes back to grapho, right? Which means to, you know, to write. You know, you're gonna have all your information on there, Salaki. You know, but fuck this devil, man. You know. Those who ultimately trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, the Lord's going to make sure that they good, man. That they make sure that they eat. Right, this is Isaiah, the 65th chapter. In verse 13, it says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty." Right, that ye is speaking about the non-elect, man. Those who are outside the elect of the nation of Israel, man. You know? But the servants are the elect. Right? Those who are not going to trust in this devil, man. Those who are not going to ultimately give in, you know, to the bribery or the threats of this damn devil, man. You know? Because we understand that the Lord has done miracles for the men of the Lord in the times past, man. Right? Just as he's gonna do now, right? In these times, right? It says, "Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit." Man, you gonna be whining and crying, man, for sure. You know? Because you fucked up and trusted this damn devil. Now you got them grievous sores, right? Esau done promised you this, that, and the third, but he's known for breaking treaties, man. He's known for breaking promises. Right? So he's still not allowing you to get food. He's still not allowing you to get water. You know? Because Esau has an agenda that he wants the world population, you know, going back to the Georgia Guidestones, he wants the world population at 500 million or less. You know? And there's roughly 8 billion people in the world. So we're talking about roughly 7.5 billion people he wants to ultimately cull, man, to kill. You know? And he's gonna do that by way of this RFID micro C hit, man. right? Because he's gonna have the power to be able to shut off, you know, your ability to purchase, your ability to, you know, he can turn it off. So now, you know, you use it to get into a building, and then the next day, you know, now you're not able, because, you know, again, it's gonna have your social credit score, right, attached to that as well. You know, he gonna be able to track, trace, and control everything you do via that device, man. You know? And on top of that, Esau gonna be able to sit there, you know damn well this devil's fucking, he's crafty, right? He's gonna be able to sit there and make it to where, hey, if you ultimately, you know, you try to take it out or whatnot, man, he gonna hit a button and all of a sudden it releases some kind of poison into you, right? And it's gonna kill you, you know? He's already put kill switches and stuff like that in your car. What do you think he's gonna do with that one? You know? Hey, the men of the Lord, we ain't gonna trust this devil, man. We understand, we see right through it. 2 Corinthians 2:11. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, his plans, his evil plots and schemes, man. We see how this devil moves, man. And we see how he's gonna continue to move. You know? All the way, man. He wants to establish an Orwellian society, man. Where you know, the top 1% have full control over everybody, right? The elites have control over everybody, right? And everybody else is what? A slave, man. That's the society that he ultimately wants to set up, man. And we're not with it, right? We understand that in order for righteousness to be established, we see that this place has to go down, right? A prophecy has to ultimately play out, man. And again, right, the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai is gonna allow this devil to continue, you know, to do that. You know, so hey, really, we saying, hey, keep on, Esau, right? Keep moving, man. Right? Keep doing your thing. Right? Because the more that you move, the faster you move, right? The faster you get your ass out of here, man. You know? We're not gonna trust this devil, we're not gonna take his RFID microchip, man, because we understand that ultimately what you're doing, if you take that, you solidify this devil being a ruler over you perpetually. You know? When you go back to Revelation 13 and verse 16, and you go into that word, M-A-R-K, Strong's G 5480, right? Go what? Charagma, right? It says what? One of the bulletins, it says of the M-A-R-K stamped on the forehead, or which is in, right? In, right? Or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist, man. Right? It also says right here, it says a stamp as a badge of servitude. You ultimately solidify this devil being a ruler over you, you know, perpetually, man. You know? Hence the reason why the elder apostle Tahar, right, ultimately labeled this what? The digital all, right? Because when you go back into the law, right, that all, right, as if a servant, right, ultimately was, you know, pleased to dwell with his master and wanted to be, you know, that his master's servant, you know, perpetually. And well, guess what? That master would thrust an earring, right, in their ear, right, which would be a badge of servitude to that man, right? This is a digital version of that, man. You know? See, Esau operates on the left-hand side. He has an understanding of the scriptures, but he does it and he operates on the left-hand side, man, using this technology, you know? So Esau wants to make you people perpetual slaves, right? Get you to take this charagma to make you perpetual slaves, you know, unto him. So he can be a perpetual ruler over you, man, and have control over everything you do, right? But see, we want Yahweh Shemel Shah to serve over us, not Esau, man. He's the basis of men. The scriptures talk about that the wicked walk on every side when the vilest are exalted, man. You know, roughly paraphrasing. You know, the elect are not going to take this charagma, man. You know? And what does it say in the, what is that, Revelations, the 14th chapter, if I'm not mistaken? It says, right, I'll start at Revelation 14:1, talking about the elect, right? It says, I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, talking about the true prophets, right? Yahweh Shai, the true prophets, the 144,000, you know? It says, which are ultimately the governing body, right, of the kingdom to come, right? And it says, having his father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder, and I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne, and this new song is being sung now, right? This truth, this gospel, right? It says, and it says, before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, meaning what? They didn't ultimately follow after these different doctrines, man. Right? Those women are going into these different false doctrines. You know? It says, for they are virgins, these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the Most High and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of the Most High. Right? Bringing out the truth, man. You know? Not speaking lies, not speaking hypocrisy. Right? Not bringing out these false doctrines. Like, you got a lot of these, you know, these guys that know that they're Israelites, right? And they're preaching lies, man. Right? Now you got what is it? Deacon Akah, the brother Hassad, right, of the Genesis, and they're talking about how, you know, the heathens can be delivered, man, right, with Israel, right, that they can receive salvation, which is not true, man. Right? See, the elect, the 144,000, the true prophets, Yahweh Shem El Shai, are not going to be you know, speaking guile, man. You're not going to find no lies, no bullshit in their mouth. They're going to speak in the truth, right? And the truth is that we're in the time of the last two major prophecies, man. Again, World War III and before World War III, right? The mandatory implementation of the RFID microchip, man. These are the times that we are in currently, man. You know? And again, right, we're telling you not to take the charagma. Do not follow this damn devil, man, no matter what, no matter the circumstance, man. Because it's going to come a point in time where he's going to sit there and tell you you're not going to be able to feed your family. Your kids are going to look at you and say, hey, Daddy, I'm hungry. Daddy, I'm thirsty, you know? But you got to trust in the Lord, man. You got to have faith in the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and the Lord will sustain you. Right? We read that in Revelations, you know? Or it's like Isaiah, the 65th chapter, man. The Lord will sustain you, right? There's many different accounts, man. Romans 15:4, the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning, you know? But see, again, a lot of these people out here, man, they don't have true faith, man. People say that, oh, you know, hey, my gun, you know, I got faith in my gun, I got faith in this, I got faith in that. Hey, but guess what? That's misplaced faith. That's not even real faith. Right? You read in what is that, Hebrews, the 11th chapter? Let's go to it. Right? It tells you what true faith is. Hebrews 11:1, right? It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, right? So you can't say I have faith in my gun, or I have faith in this, or I have faith in that, right? That you can see, that you can grab onto, right? Because that's not true faith, man. You know? Faith is like, damn, I hope I can get it. You know, I did everything right in order to receive this. You know, I studied for my test. I made sure, I did my flashcards, this and the third. And when time to go to the test, you do the test. And then guess what? You hope, you're not seeing the teacher grade it, right? You have to wait until the paper's handed back to you. And you're sitting there hoping in your mind, I hope, I got a good grade. I hope I did good. I did everything that I was supposed to do in order to receive a good grade, but you don't know, you don't necessarily know if you're going to get that good grade, man, until that paper gets handed back to you, man. And either you got to, either you weren't studying hard enough and got or good enough or long enough and got an F, or you failed, or you studied properly, right? Did everything you were supposed to do, and you got a what? You got a good grade. And see, that's what we're waiting for, man. Lord will, we be part of the elect. And guess what? The elect are going to be doing everything necessary to receive that good grade, right? Which that good grade is going to come in the form of what? Salvation, deliverance, man. Not trusting in this damn devil, but trusting in the Lord and doing everything that the Lord tells them to do in these times. Not waiting, not bullshitting, not operating, in the ways of the world. We're operating according to the scriptures, according to what's required of us, right? What is that? Romans, the 12th chapter, right? Presenting the bodies a living sacrifice. That's what we have to do, man. That's true faith. And only the elect of the nation of Israel is going to be walking in faith, right? Everybody else is going to ultimately perish, man. You know? There is no ifs, ands, or buts, man. These are the times that we're in, man, and we're going to continue, right, to preach this word. We're going to continue, you know, to push this gospel, this good news, man. You know? Those who have true faith, they're the ones that are going to be delivered, man, in these times. You know? What does it say in 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter? 2nd Esdras 9 and verse 7. It says, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed, because faith without works is dead. Right? You say you have faith, and well, you gotta prove it. Right? By presenting your body a living sacrifice and following the commandments to the best of your ability. Right? Starting with the fear of the Lord. Right? The beginning of being accepted of the Lord, man, is if you fear the Lord. You know? It says what? It says, shall be preserved from the said perils and shall see my salvation. See, there you go, right? Those who ultimately trust in the Lord, they're going to be preserved from the said perils that are coming. Meaning when Esau says, nope, you can't buy or sell, when he fully makes it mandatory, right? And well, guess what? We're going to chuck it up and say, all right, you know, fuck Esau and fuck this system, man. We're going to trust in the Lord. And the Lord's going to feed us, man. The Lord's going to furnish that table in the wilderness, just as he did. He's sending down the manna, the quails, you know, in the time of, you know, of the wilderness, you know, which we're in the wilderness now, man. Right through the Spirit, if you can receive it. You know, we're in the wilderness now. You know, only the elect of the nation of Israel are going to make it through the wilderness and to receive salvation, you know, and be put in their land. You know, it says, shall be preserved from the said perils and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Right? From the very beginning. The end is manifest from the beginning. So there was already predetermined a certain group of men, right, that were going to be have true faith and to receive salvation, man, because of that faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Everyone else is already predetermined to be destroyed, right, to die, right? Let's grab this 2nd Esdras 9 or 2nd Esdras 2, and we'll start at verse 33. It says, I, Esdras, received the charge of the Lord upon the Mount Oreb, that I should go into Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandments of the Lord. And this is exactly how 2/3 of our people act today. Right? It says, and therefore I say unto them, O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. Right? Look for Yahushua. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Right? It says, he shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand and shall come in the end of the world. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. And again, we understand that only the elected nation of Israel is going to take heed to this message. Right? It says, flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. Oh, receive the gift that is given you, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that hath led you to the heavenly kingdom. Arise and stand. Behold the number of those that be sealed in the feast of the Lord, which are departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of the Lord. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord, that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. Again, the elect. Sanctify them for me from the beginning. Right? The elected nation of Israel. Verse 42, it says, I, Esdras, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. And this is going into that crowning ceremony, man. You know, those who ultimately followed Yahushua all the way into the end, right? Despising, right, this world, fleeing the shadow of this world, right? And trusting in the Lord when you know, when it looks like all hope is lost, you know, just like Abraham, man, right? It says, so I asked the angel and said, sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of the Most High, right? The name of the Heavenly Father Yahweh and his only beloved begotten Son Yahushua. Now were they crowned and received palms. Palms would be symbolic for what? Victory, right? Then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell thy people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen. That's right, man. You know? And this is what it's about, man. To be a part of that number. You know, we understand that, hey, we're in the time of the last two major prophecies, right? And we understand, right? Just, according to the scriptures, right, how it's going to play out, man. Right? We don't know when, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen, right? Like every single detail, but as the scriptures say, we know in part, we prophesy in part. We know that we're at the beginning of Jacob's trouble, right? Where Revelations 12 and 17, where Esau's, beginning to make war with the remnant of her seed, speaking about you Israelites, right? We understand that the RFID microchip, right, the infrastructure for it is being set up. Right, Esau's starting to crack down. We understand that these nations are creating these ICBM nuclear missiles to eventually use them mainly upon America. There will be ICBM nuclear missiles that hit outside of America, right, but mainly here in America, man. Mainly over here in the West, America. Right, and we understand that there's going to be a deliverance for the elect of the nation of Israel, and we hope that we're part of that number, man. We just have to remain faithful all the way into the end, right? He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved, man. But that's all I got, man. Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Badash, double honor to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders, the great millstone. Till next time I see Shalom.